Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Hall of Famer Bob Berry ruled Milwaukee's airwaves in the 60s and 70s. He spoke with countless musicians and celebrities over the years. Bob collected remarkable recordings of these encounters, which he's now sharing with the public. Here's Bob.
Well, when we said we called the world, we called the world. Even the guy who sold chickens for a living, and a pretty good living, I might add. By the way, did you know that the chicken dance was made popular by Bob Kames? He owned Kames Wonderful World of Music in Milwaukee. Bob called me and he said, this song is going to become a popular record. You got to hear it. So he brought it in, I listened to it, and I disagreed. But after we played it on the air, the response was positive, and it became a hit, and of course a popular dance. Colonel Harland Sanders was best known for founding the fast food chain Kentucky Fried Chicken. He did it at age 65, using his $105 monthly Social Security check. Why is he called the Colonel? Sanders falsified his birth date to enlist in the U.S. Army, serving in Cuba. He received an honorary discharge, and the Kentucky governor commissioned him an honorary colonel. He had an inspiring success story, which he will tell in this podcast.
Colonel Sanders?
Yes, Colonel Sanders. Bob Berry at WOKY Radio, Milwaukee.
Yeah, Bob. How are you this morning?
Good. How are you?
You having snow up there today?
Oh, yeah. We got plenty of snow.
We're having sunshine, a temperature of 55 degrees. Right, you had come to Kentucky.
Is that right? In Louisville, right?
That's right, to Louisville. It's works good.
Now, you didn't get your start in Louisville, the famous Colonel Sanders.
No, I had a little restaurant down at Corbin, Kentucky, on the highway, about a mile and a half north of the town. It started, you might say, as a lunch proposition. I wheeled out the old family dining room table and 6 chairs into a little 15-foot room I had there in the service station. And we cooked for the family of 5 of us and try to have dinner ready by 11 o'clock, which was 12 o'clock Eastern time, you see, for customers coming out of Cincinnati in the north.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes we'd sell one meal, sometimes we'd sell all 5 that we had cooked for ourselves, and then we'd do that again for ourselves after they were gone. So that was a slow start. Next year, though, I got moved across the highway on the outside of the curve, and I had people had better visibility of me. And there I begun to increase the capacity of my restaurant, and we finally wound up, by the time I quit, I had 142 seats. And I had the good fortune to be enlisted with Duncan Hines in Adventures of Good Eating, and that brought me some good high-class customers, you know.
Well, I'll bet.
In those days, they used to travel a great deal by Duncan Hines books.
Right. How many Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises do you have now?
We're in 39 countries with over 5,300 outlets.
Wow.
That many stores.
Geez,
we're using today in Kentucky Fried Chicken more than 2 million head of chickens every 24 hours.
Wow. Now, were you a businessman to start with, or was your dad a businessman, or how did you...
My daddy died when I was 5 years old. My little brother was 3, and my little sister was born 2 months after Papa died.
So you did this all on your own, then?
And so, yes, I did it on my own. I was a 6th grade dropout in school, which I want to warn all children, all school children today, don't do it. Stay with school till you get all you can of this free education, because that's the only thing it is free in the country. But I was a 6th grade dropout, you know, to take care of myself, because my stepdad had kicked me out when Mom married him when I was 12 years old. And of course, my cooking experiences come in. Mom would do the sewing for the neighbors back there 80 years ago. There wasn't that store-bought clothes for country schoolboys and girls. So Mom was a good seamstress, and so she made suits for the boys and work pants for the men, dresses for girls, and so on. And she'd tell me how to attend to the food she had on the stove, what to do. And from that on, I begun to learn. And later I was taught how to fix a recipe, how to put the different seasonings in it and take care of it like it should. So I come up that way as a kid cooking. That was my first experience. Then, of course, when I was 15 years old, after having left home on account of the stepdad, at age of 12, I went to work on farms down in southern Indiana. And from there, I had an uncle who was a motorman on the streetcars in New Albany. He got me a job there as a conductor, collector on the New Albany streetcars. one evening after a few months there on the car, why some gentleman got on my car and wanted I'd make connection with the Unearthed from Jeffersonville to see where the quartermaster depot was. He wanted to know did I want to volunteer to go to Cuba for a year in the Army. And I thought that, and told me what salary that'd be, which was more than I was making, so I thought that'd be a good thing to do. So I was just barely, it wasn't quite 30 days over 16 years old. And I said, well, I'm not 21. They won't take me. He said, you're big enough to go up there and tell them you're 21. He said, it'll take you. So sure enough, I did. I went up the next morning and I lied about my age. I was 21 years old. They hired me and sent me Newport News and shipped me to Cuba with a contingent of soldiers and 1,500 head of mules on my ship. I was in the quartermaster's quarter, you know.
Right.
And I got on the boat there in Newport News weighing 168 pounds. I was big enough like he told me. But when I got off in Havana, I weighed 127. I lost 41 pounds in that 1 week.
Oh, my God.
Man, I was the sickest mortal that ever crossed that ocean.
Jeez, I guess. We're talking to Colonel Harland Sanders, what we'd like to say the inventor of the chicken. It's about the size of it because, of course, his famous Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises are all over the world, and we've all been to them. And what do you think of the youth of today compared to the youth of your day, Colonel Sanders?
I have all the faith in the world in America. She's going to be in good hands.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that, Colonel Sanders, and thank you very much for talking. How old are you now, Colonel Sanders?
Well, I'm well on my into my 85th year now.
Yes,
I'm over halfway to 85.
That's terrific. Take care of yourself, and thank you very much for talking with us.
God bless you and your audience.
Thank you. Bye-bye. That was the famous Colonel Sanders there at 26 minutes after 7 o'clock at Waukee. Good morning.
Bob Berry.
Thank you for listening to Bob Berry's Unearthed Interviews. Be sure to subscribe and rate our podcast on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts. You can find all the episodes at WisconsinBroadcastingMuseum.org. Check out Bob Berry's book, Rock and Roll Radio Milwaukee. Book sale proceeds support Angels Kids Fund and Donate Life Wisconsin. The preceding program was made possible by a generous contribution from Terry Bond.